I'm BugeyeBob, and I'm on a mission to resurrect this 1958 Austin Healey Mark I Sprite from this to this so it doesn't end up in this. In this episode, we finished making a frame jig for a car with no frame. If you haven't seen episode 42 of BugeyeBob yet, please check it out because it explains what I'm doing and why. So, 12-inch legs. Clunk. Would end up something like that. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can now make a one-time or recurring donation to help save Lazarus through PayPal. For less than the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can support this project as a member on Patreon. See the links in the description below. Weld them like that, except out to the full width. Put a piece across the middle between them. Maybe put a couple of pieces like this. Then that gives me, this piece is a little bit less than 10 inches. This is 15, so that gives me 2.5 inches on the side to adjust these things out to. Drill some holes down at like every 1.5 inches maybe. Because if I do that, if I drill holes down at every 1.5 inches, that actually will allow me to raise or lower it once it's on the hooked up to the body. I'll use the engine hoist, which is good for 2,000 pounds, I think, something like that. So I think, or maybe it's 1 ton, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's 2,000 pounds, 1 ton, 2,000 pounds. So even if I run it out to where it's only able to handle 1/2 ton, that still should be enough to be able to lift the frame and the body up. And I'd be able to bolt that on like that. So yeah, 2 more pieces of this 12 inches long, suicidal pieces, and then drill them out and then weld them on. We can do it. I have to drill, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes in the uprights, and I'm going to space them 1.5 inches apart starting from the top down, which is probably the wrong way to do it because I should space them from the bottom up, but you know what, whatever. So anyways, want 1.5 inch holes. I'm going to first get that thing off my ass. First going to drill a 1/4 inch hole and then drill the larger hole. Let's see how this goes. 21 more holes to go, but you're not going to have to listen to and watch all that shit. So I originally planned these uprights for the ends to be 12 inches high. Then I just measured and found out that the maximum height that I can have to be able to run these puppies, to slide it underneath of the car as it sits right now, is 14 inches. And this comes out to 14 and a half. So, and it would be nice probably to have this down where I can have bolted on an inch or so lower, so I'm going to cut 1.5 inches off the bottom of these things. Because I can. That looks good right there. I've tried to double check and make sure that this is all perfectly square to the blade, but who knows? It looks good. One down. Two down. Now, one of the things that can happen when you're cutting these things is you'll cut through the top part and then you'll hit this bottom part and it's like the blade won't cut. It'll start cutting and it stops. And I think what happens is that the heat, because you don't go through it fast enough, the heat will actually cause this to harden, and then you've got to cut through and force it through that hardened area. So just something to keep an eye out for. It gets it right there. You can actually see the shower of sparks stop or cut down drastically when that happens. There's a little mountain of steel. I'm not going to bother grinding all the crap out the inside. I'm just going to hit these sharp edges so I don't cut myself while I'm working with it. Here the road construction, 2 streets or a street over, 1 street over, yeah, 1 street over. My life is hell from road construction, but this too shall pass. Those 2 go on that end. These 2 go on this end. Now, you might be wondering why these pieces here. These are hopefully to keep this from going back and forth that way. I think what I will also do is I might just take and weld a couple of pieces of this on the inside here like this, seeing as how I have these pieces, and weld them in there also. And of course the damn wind picks up. So my settings are 120 amps, 28.2 feet per minute, and 20.9 volts. Let us take. see how shitty that is. Oh, that's bad. But I think you could beat it with a sledgehammer and it'd still hold. And of course, those aren't fucking. Damn it. Why does every goddamn thing Chinesium have to have metric on it? Sell in the U.S., make the goddamn thing U.S. sizes. I'm going to want the weight not just centered vertically, but also horizontally. Which means, and of course these goddamn plates, even though this looks level, well, on that one it is level, oddly enough. Huh. On the other one, it's you're always at an angle. And we were 1, 2, 3 holes down in the bottom hole. Get all that stuff off of there. Now then. Okay, so right now, that is bottom heavy. The question's going to be, where's that going to be when the, but I can twist it up. You can see it's twisted at the full length. So it's going to be a question of where is it going to balance out with the car on it. But I think you can see that, in fact, I will bet that with a little bit of effort, with a lot of effort. So what I got to hope for is hope that when I get the car on it, I get a lot of better balance than what I got right now. And I think I will have. Next question is there a lot of tilt to this thing from one end to the other, which is going to be hard to test, given that I'm really kind of looking at how low my driveway is. Well, that says that that end needs to go up 0.4 degrees. That says it has to go down 1 degree. So this all has to do with the fact that this is, that says it has to go down 1.3. So this is obviously wibbly wobbly warped. Let's see what the hell we get if we just let that thing settle back down. All right, I'm going to have to build outriggers for it. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But that right there says it's pretty much close to perfectly level. I mean, it goes from, yeah, the locking pin at each end is. Now the next question is, that moves pretty good, except, let's look down at this other end. And let's watch this other end as I move it back and forth. I'm not a fan of that wibbly wobbly in the middle. But the cool thing about all this is I have lengths of this 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch tubing. Slides right in there perfectly so I can tie these two ends together. And what I'll do is I'll just I'll weld a nut on top right about there, and then I'll be able to take a 1/2 inch bolt and screw it down like so to hold the length of that tubing in between those two spots. Next question is, how long does that tubing have to be? It'd be nice if it turned out to be less than 7 feet long. Assume I want it to go from at least right there to right there, and it needs to be at least 8 feet long. So I'm going to have to take my 7 foot 10 inch length of tubing and weld a piece onto the end of it, which is not a problem. And for outriggers, so my plan is to put these feet out here. These will probably not be this long. They'll probably be about that long. But then I'll be able to put these things in. I'll make 4 of these, and they can go out, and they'll be outriggers, so that when I'm turning it around, I've got plenty of stability to where I won't have to worry about it flipping over. So that's the plan. Okay, I'm very quickly going to go through. These are the outriggers that I made for the rotisserie stands. Just by pure luck, it turned out I had these casters left over, and the casters have these screw down feet. Now, those casters came on this welding table. I think it's a clutch table or something like that. I don't remember exactly who made the thing. Let's get this about there. But the one thing that there was a problem was, you go moving the table around, and these things would screw down from the vibration because they didn't have the nut and washer to lock them into place. So I ripped them off and welded other casters on the bottom and had these sitting around. Just out of pure luck, it turns out that when these are all put together, and I added the nut and the washer so that it I can screw that up, and that will give enough so that it will roll around, but I can then run the feet down, use the locking nut and lock washer to lock the feet down, and I don't have to worry about the stand rolling all over the place. So let's turn around and see how this all goes together and how these stands actually work. Jump around here into the bright sunlight. So, let's get this stand out of the way for a moment. So one of these slides in here like this, and I've got from there to probably right about there. So I've got some adjustability in these things. If I really am concerned about how far they're tipping. You notice that's kind of loose in there, but that's all right. There's a little bolt back here that I can tighten down. That locks that. Then I can run that foot down like that. Do that again on this side. And now, as you can see, there ain't no way in hell that I'm going to tip that thing over with any weight on it. So, the only concern I have left is whether or not this tubing is strong enough. But, if it turns out it's a little bit wiggly, I can get some more of this tubing like I used here for the outriggers and put some in at an angle like so. Well, it'll be like so actually, and stiffen that up. But right now, given the weight of the car and the weight of the other stuff that's going on it, I don't really think that's going to be necessary. These are rated for 1,000 pounds per engine. So between them, I would be able to hold up a ton. I don't think either end is going to have close to 1,000 pounds on it. And I don't think that I'm really going to have to worry about them rocking much to either side. So, those are the outriggers. Quite frankly, I think even running the full width, that's probably more than enough. It looks like that's still just a little bit. That's what I thought. Okay. I think they're just fine that way. I don't think they'll need to be any wider than that. That right there is fully extended. Those are 58 inches wide. The car itself, I think, is 54 inches wide. So, at its widest, the car is still pretty much within the width of the outriggers. So that's those. Okay, I'm doing the final assembly on this unit. I notice there's a bunch of little green dots all up and down the length of this thing. Unfortunately, I had to let it sit out in the rain last night. And the live oak trees were dumping their pollen all over the place, having their annual orgy. And you can see that as it sets, I can rotate it around however I want, find a convenient spot, drop a locking pin in, and lock it in that position. Doesn't seem to be one for perfectly vertical, but I suppose I could drill one in there to make it that way. As it sits right now, it's kind of self-righting, which is fine. I imagine some of you are going to say, well, wait a minute, that's going to get the car real high. Well, yeah, but it has to be. We're talking center of gravity. When this thing rolls around, that has to have enough room to clear the body of the car between all of this stuff. I may have to take these bolts out when I rotate the body all the way around, but honestly, given that there's no locks, I may end up working. There's no locks to lock it where the body is perfectly like that. So I'm probably going to end up locking it like this, which is still fine. I mean, as long as I can lock the thing in a position where it's comfortable to work on, that's all that matters to me. If I'm working on the rocker panel on this side, it's going to be right about here. I mean, that's kind of perfect height to work on stuff as far as I'm concerned. It'd be nice if it had big geared assembly to rotate it all around with, but I don't, so I'm not going to worry about it. Even this right here is a good height to work when you're putting in the floor panels and all this other stuff that's got to go in. The car's going to be sitting right about here for that height to work on stuff. So I think it's going to work out good. The only issue might be where the center of gravity ends up to where it will be easier or harder to turn. Personally, I would like to end up with the center of gravity right square in the center of the point of rotation. Shit, I don't have the camera set for either one of those. I need a cameraman, damn it. Personally, I'd like to have the center of gravity sitting right about right here in the center of rotation. These are adjustable. They're adjustable every 1.5 inches. So I've got about, I can drop it down another 3 inches, probably a lot more. I could probably drop it down another 6 inches from what it's sitting right now. I don't think I'll have to raise it up any. These are just barely high enough right now to where they will allow me to slide this frame underneath of the car in one piece, and then I'll use the engine hoist I've got, 1-ton engine hoist, to lift up the frame up to the car and slide the rotisserie pieces under the car, get them all locked into place, and then I'll use that same engine hoist, and this is going to be the tricky part. I'll be using that same engine hoist to lift up the this frame to the body to where I can weld or bolt. I've put some of these things on thinking I can either weld them or bolt them. This is the front of the thing right here. I suppose I really need to put a front on the damn thing just so that I'll remember. But this is the front. And then these are spaced, hopefully, to where they're convenient to either bolt down around over frame pieces or weld the frame. Definitely need a cameraman. So these are set so that I can either bolt them or weld them to existing frame on the front, what there is of the frame at the front of the vehicle, or to body parts on the back part of the vehicle. Now, most people are going to look at this and go, oh my God, you don't have that wide enough. You need to have that 6 foot wide. No, I don't. I don't need it 6 foot wide. Well, you got to have it at least 4 foot wide. No. The main part of the frame on this vehicle, up at the front, is 16 inches wide center to center, which is pretty close to what these are, these two rails here. The back has no frame under it. Remember, this is a 1/4 elliptical spring system. There is no rear shock assembly. There's no, I mean, there is a rear shock, but it's all connected like right in this area. So what we have back here is you got lots of stuff hanging out in space back here. I'm hoping that I can weld this to the bottom of the boot area, which is still good. I got to replace about this much of the boot area back here. Actually, it'll be about this much right here somewhere. I should have 6 inches of clearance at the front, 6 inches of clearance here at the back between any frame parts or body parts and the rig itself, so I should have room to work underneath the things. Now, as far as the rest of this and the width, I've got to slide, first off, both of the rocker panel inner and outers, sills they call them, those have to be replaced. The floor pans have to be replaced. The braces running back and forth, which those things are all right in this area. Here's where the braces are going to run. Over about here's where the rocker panels are going to run. So if I build this out wider, anything I build in here is going to get in my way when I'm trying to do stuff. So that's why it's built to this width. It's a small car. I think the total width on it is something like 54 inches wide. So, you know, this covers almost a third of the width of the vehicle, and it gives me room to work on stuff and get stuff done underneath it. So that's it for this. It moves around. It's got outriggers on it. If I want, I can more than likely be able to slide the whole damn car in and out of the garage to work on it. Clunk, trip over it. And that is it. Next video after this one is going to be putting the car on it, doing some welding of pieces to make sure that the car doesn't twist all over, and get it so that it will hopefully balance out kind of good. So that's that. Well, folks, that's it for this episode of BugeyeBob. I really appreciate you watching and hope that, like me, you've learned a few things to do, or maybe not to do, in this episode. Please like and comment on this video as it encourages YouTube to share it with others and helps grow the channel. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notified when new videos are released. If you'd like to support this channel and save Lazarus from the recycle furnace, you can now make a one-time or recurring donation through PayPal. You can also support this restoration project by becoming a member at patreon.com/BugeyeBob. Patreon members get early access to the videos and in the future will enjoy question and answer sessions and live streams. As this channel grows, future Patreon member benefits will include bonus or extended videos, member names in the credits, and the ability to suggest topics for future videos. You can follow this BugeyeBob restoration on YouTube and Facebook. You'll find the links in the description below for PayPal, Patreon, YouTube, and Facebook. Once again, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and supporting this channel.